Oh, well, good morning, friends. Good afternoon. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome in. Let me know if you can hear me okay. We're doing this a little bit different today. If you know, you know. Bronxy B and Logan, hello. Mittens for Kittens, hello. Good to see you. Kane B, what up, Kane B? Doc Terry, always good to see you. Summer Jade, hello. Lucy B B. For fuck's sake, Bitsiana. They live. Hello. Hello. Hi, everyone. How's my audio? Let me know if you can hear me. Give me some hellos in the chat if you can hear me. Does my audio sound messed up? Earlier, I was playing around with it and I had an echo. So let me know if I still have an echo. Hopefully, I don't. Hopefully, everybody's having an awesome, awesome Sunday. Audio's good. Audio's good. Dana Lynn, hello. Awesome. Loud and clear. Great. Perfect. Problem is when I go to add myself with my laptop here, right? I have a feeling we're going to get echo, but it's fine. I have a few videos I want to play for us today. Noelle, hello. How's everybody's Sunday going? We have a few things we're going to get into today. I do have a couple of educational videos that we are going to look at pertaining to blood stain analysis, blood spatter analysis, all of these things. And we have some photos to look at. And, you know, we're just going to look at some things. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to look and ask questions and talk and, no facts here. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for being here. No facts here. I don't know shit. Just some snarky lady on the internet with an opinion. That's it. Noelle, what are you sorry for, honey? What are you sorry for? Trying to find a way to put that there. There we go. All right. Hope everybody's got your coffee. It's Sunday. I don't know if it's cold where you are, but it's cold where I am. So I've got coffee. All right, let's see if when I enter here, it's going to mess me up. Actually, you know what I can do? Let's do it this way. We're going to invite, copy link. Gracefully Salty. Well, good morning to you. Hello. Think I did this wrong. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. I think I know what I need to do. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. Fuck it. We'll do it this way. Enter here. Mute that. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, see, now I have audio. Hang on, hang on. Sorry, friends. Hang on 1 second. I'm doing this. I just did it the wrong way. Give me 1 second. Let's go in here. Yeah, it's chilly where I am. So I have a hot coffee today, but I also have an espresso machine. And so I still made my like quad blonde. It's just not on ice. And I still made my own cold foam. All right, give me 1 second so that I can add myself into my own live correctly. If you know, you know, we do it this way. so that the goblins in the internet don't mess with my audio. So that's why we do this way, friends. It is what it is. For now, this is what we're doing. I noticed that when I do it this way, the little spooky goblins in the interwebs can't mess with my audio. So let's go this way. We'll close this out. Da 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 da. Almost there, almost there. Stop, mute, enter. Add to stage. Hello, hello. Fuck my life, it's still giving me audio. Hang on. Here. Mute that one. Okay, I have an echo on my end. Do you guys have an echo on your end? Some bullshit. I think that should be. No, it's not. Okay, hang on. Echo confirmed. Okay, hang on, friend. Okay, let's do it this way. Okay. For the love. Okay. Gonna do it this way. Hang on. We're just gonna do it this way. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Sorry about that. We're just gonna do it this way. Let me know how my audio is now. Let's put that there. Okay, hopefully. So it's looking okay on my end. How's the audio, friends? Okay. Audio's good. Now there's no echo. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, think I fixed it. Thanks, friends. So sorry to waste your time. I am not trying to waste anyone's time at all today. So sorry. Okay. All right. Let's get into it. We do have quite a few things that I would like to look at today, as long as you guys are okay with it. Let's get into it. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Sunday. Mods, totally appreciate you. All of you new members. I saw that I had I don't know, 5 or 6, 7 people become new members in the last week. Welcome, welcome. I think I saw some people were gifted memberships as well. So if you got a gifted membership, I mean, hello, throw some Michael Myers emojis in the chat for whoever gifted you a membership and say thank you. Tell us what. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Phineas, what up? Welcome. Okay, now I can see my chat. Hopefully everyone can hear me, and we're good to go. We got a lot to look at. I have a delicious coffee in front of me. Let's get this shit cracking. Brooms up, bitches. We have a lot to look at. Sally Shepherdson, hello. Welcome, welcome. Leah, beautiful Leah, hello. Where's Meg P? Satire, your first live? Well, shit, welcome on in. Buckle up, witches. Welcome, ladies and gentleladies. All right, let's see. If it's your first live, welcome on in. If you're new here and you don't know who I am, I'm just some lady who knows nothing. I know nothing. I'm just some snarky lady on the internet. I know nothing. No facts here. Exercise due diligence. Research on your own. Come to your own conclusions. Not my job to tell anyone what to think. Witchy. Hello, Witchy. Jennifer Leitner. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Oh, your first live too? Wow, you finally made a live as well. Well, welcome. Today's going to be a good one, friends. You made it just in time. Today's going to be a good one. Not going to lie. I got some good shit to share. It is what it is. You know, I don't like to toot my own horn, but beep, beep. We got some good shit to look at today. I'm also feeling extra snarky, so that's always a fun time too. All right, so let's get into it. First things first. Da, 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 da. I want to open this. Let's make sure. Pause. Make sure. Okay, see, I want to take myself out of the way. Make that big for you. All right, I'm going to mute myself and hopefully you guys can still hear this. Let's make sure you can still hear audio even if I mute, okay? We'll just do a little testy poo real quick. It's not long. It's only 9 minutes. Hopefully everybody's attention can hold for 9 minutes to watch this video. Make it full screen. Make sure volume is all the way up. Da, 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 da. Where's the damn volume? There it is. Up. Okay, perfect. Let's go.
Crime scenes are messy. These students in Boston University's Biomedical Forensic Sciences program are learning how to make sense of them.
Can everybody hear that okay? Before we get too far into it, can everybody hear this okay? Also, I did link the 2 videos that were, you can't hear it. What? Hang on. What did I do? What do you mean you can't hear it? Fuck. Hang on. You can hear it. Jennifer says yes. Okay. Leah, are you saying no to me or... Oh, everybody can hear it. Oh, okay, so sorry. I saw Leah's no and was like, what do you... Or Doc's no, and I was like, fuck. You can hear it fine. Okay, perfect. Everybody can hear it. Awesome. So both of these videos that I'm going to be sharing with you today are linked in the description of this video. I also have a warning on the description of this video. We are going to be covering things that are of a very graphic nature pertaining to murders, crime scenes, blood, blood spatter, blood droplets. If those are things that make you wheezy or that you don't want to hear about, feel free to click out now. Do not go any further. You know, I would rather you just leave now than, you know, a couple hours down the road when I'm out working later. My shit's blowing up on YouTube with notifications about, I can't believe that you would even show something like this. It's so good, blah, 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 blah. Right? Because you know that's what's going to happen. Everyone has the opportunity to literally click out now. Okay? It's going to be very graphic, the whole thing. So if that's not your cup of tea, feel free to move on. No hard feelings. Still love you. Bye. Let's go.
They're studying the art and science of bloodstain pattern analysis.
Bloodstain evidence is critical. I've had one case where one single spatter of blood made the case.
But new research suggests that some models detectives are using to interpret bloodstains may be out of date, leading to faulty conclusions about how a crime was committed, or worse, incorrect verdicts in the courtroom. Now, specialists in fluid mechanics are stepping in to help crime scene investigators better understand the way blood behaves on different surfaces, with potentially game-changing implications for the criminal justice system. Detectives have been using bloodstains to help solve crimes since crime solving began, and bloodstain pattern analysis has been a serious forensic discipline for at least 100 years.
What's going to be critical is going to be the length and width of your stains when we're looking at impact patterns.
Ken Martin was with the Massachusetts State Police for 33 years, and he's been teaching bloodstain pattern analysis since 2005.
Many serious crimes, such as homicides, involve the letting or the shedding of blood. First thing you want to do is identify the patterns, and then once you identify the patterns, we expect certain things to happen. Blood being a fluid has to follow the laws of physics and fluid dynamics, so I know that if an impact spatter occurs, this will happen.
But what exactly is happening when a bloodstain forms? This is a single drop of blood falling vertically through the air, about to make contact with a hard surface. As the blood falls, cohesive forces between the molecules cause it to coalesce into a sphere, which carries momentum downward due to the pull of gravity. When it lands, the impact creates pressure on the drop, which diverts its momentum outward, causing the liquid to spread rapidly across the surface. Eventually, those same cohesive forces between the molecules stop the blood from spreading outward and will actually try to pull it back into a sphere. What prevents this is a phenomenon called pinning. When the blood stops spreading, microscopic irregularities in the surface will latch onto the edge of the fluid, effectively pinning the edge to the surface. Where the edge gets pinned will ultimately form the perimeter of the stain when the blood dries. Because blood obeys the laws of physics, detectives can be confident that it will always behave this way, given similar conditions. Except that sometimes it doesn't.
Here I could have an identical surface in a kitchen, and on one portion of the floor the blood's adhering as we would anticipate, but in another section the blood is literally peeling up. So the question arises, why is it doing it here and not here? That, along with the drying of blood, has always been an interest area where I've thought that we could use a lot of research.
Luckily, across the Boston University campus, a lab in the mechanical engineering department is trying to answer just that question.
A lot of the experiments people have done looking at bloodstains have been on clean surfaces. Well, most surfaces aren't clean.
J.C. Bird is a specialist in fluid mechanics at Boston University. Bird's lab studies the subtle and surprising ways that fluids can behave at small scales. And they've done a lot of research on the behavior of liquid on hydrophobic surfaces. That is, surfaces that are uniquely good at repelling fluids.
Even your cell phone cover. Right now, often there will be anti-fingerprint or paints that are designed to be anti-graffiti. If the surface coating is playing a role, will that lead to differences in the stains that would fundamentally change how a crime scene was interpreted?
For example, here are 3 drops of water falling onto a glass surface. In each case, the glass itself is the same, but 2 of the surfaces have been treated with hydrophobic coatings. Here's what happens when a drop of water falls onto clean, untreated glass. This glass has had an acrylic coating applied to it, and this glass has been treated with an anti-fingerprint coating. It's immediately obvious that a drop of water behaves very differently depending on how the surface it impacts has been treated.
Isn't that absolutely wild? Do you see how different each drop was when it landed, especially on the surface? Like, it literally bounces back on itself and like will come back up off the surface. Isn't that fucking wild?
But water is a very simple molecule, one of the simplest, which is what makes it so good for experiments.
With blood, it's not like that. It's a complex liquid. It's a combination of proteins and blood cells, which end up leading to a very different type of behavior.
And so, in 2020, Bird received funding from the National Institute of Justice to study the fluid mechanics of, that's right, human blood. Specifically, what happens when blood makes contact with surfaces with different hydrophobic properties.
It's a very fresh blood from the day before yesterday. I'm gonna distribute it into the small containers.
Garam Lee is a PhD student in Bird's lab. To prepare for this project, Lee studied bloodstain pattern analysis alongside Ken Martin's forensic students, and she's been conducting lab experiments with human blood for the past year.
One of the challenges that we have to do the experiment in a very short period of time after the blood arrives. So sometimes I work full day and night to finish up the experiment after it arrives.
In the bird lab, all research projects are part science experiment, part film shoot. Because a drop of blood only takes a few milliseconds to make contact with a surface, the lab uses studio lighting, magnifying lenses, and special high-speed cameras that can film tens of thousands of frames per second. Bird's lab is doing a range of experiments with the blood, from simulating spatter patterns associated with stab wounds to studying the dynamics of a single drop of blood.
Simulating patterns from stab wounds. Hello, beautiful Meg P. I just saw you, honey. Welcome on in. Happy Sunday.
Falling on a surface. How important can a single drop of blood possibly be? It turns out, very important. One key question at many crime scenes is whether a victim was standing, sitting, or lying down when they were assaulted. And the size of a bloodstain is often used to answer that question. According to current models, 2 drops of blood that fall from the same height onto the same surface will leave the same size stain. But what if 2 drops of blood fall from the same height onto the same surface, but some parts of that surface are coated differently than others?
Let's say you have a wooden floor, and if you just waxed it, you might not be able to distinguish between the waxed floor and just the pure wooden floor.
For this experiment, Lee prepares a syringe to produce single drops of human blood, which she'll drop onto different pieces of wood. Bird's lab wants to demonstrate how blood behaves on identical surfaces that have been treated with different coatings. In this case, a thin layer of floor wax or a light scorching by fire.
What we're trying to articulate is that what the bulk material is somewhat irrelevant. It's really the wax or soot that the blood is interacting with, not the floor underneath it.
With the blood warmed up and the cameras rolling, Lee sets to work. As the 2 drops travel through the air, they're both behaving as you'd expect, coalescing into spheres because of that cohesive force between the molecules. It's when they contact the differently coated surfaces that things get interesting. The first drop hits the waxed wood and spreads out, but at the point where it should get pinned, it doesn't. That's because the wax has effectively filled in any irregularities on the wood that the blood would latch onto. Instead, the drop begins to recoil, trying to pull itself back into a sphere. The only thing that stops it is the adhesion force between the wood and the blood molecules. What about the burned wood? When the second drop of blood hits the burned wood, it spreads out just like the first drop, but then it recoils completely, to the point where it actually bounces off the surface of the wood. Not only did the edge not get pinned, but the soot coating from the burning process even interfered with the adhesion force between the blood and the wood, allowing the cohesion force between the blood molecules to pull it back into a sphere. Once these 2 drops of blood dry, they will result in completely different stains, even though their originating conditions were the same.
And that is something that's not accounted for in any of these current models.
While it may be too early for Bird's research to have reached the courtroom, his findings are at least making their way into the classroom.
Depending on how hydrophobic the treatment is of the surface, where the blood droplet literally bounces off the surface. I mean, that's some really interesting stuff that we weren't aware of in the past.
And so through experiments, we can see this, we can see situations where it does happen, where it doesn't, and we can try to understand the fundamental physics, the fluid mechanics that are responsible for it. Will our work make a difference in court cases and crime scenes? I certainly hope so.
Blood evidence presented in court cases can have serious impacts on people's lives. As Ken Martin said, a single drop of blood can potentially make the difference between an innocent or guilty verdict. So one thing should be abundantly clear. The evidence found at crime scenes needs to be supported by evidence derived from rigorous scientific experimentation. Without that, it's all just a bloody mess.
All right. Thank you, Boston University, for educating the masses. Okay, so that was one that I wanted to show you guys. Hang on one second, because there is one more that I also wanted to show you that we're going to take a look at, and it's not that long. Where is it? I think it's this guy right here.
Here's
Yeah. Oopsie. Okay, let me get over here. We'll share this one. Got one more to look at. This one's pretty short. It's only a couple minutes, but this guy has a great channel. I also linked him in the description here as well. It's called DeBacco University, Dr. DeBacco. is his name. It's a professor. Apparently, this is what he was teaching. I don't know. Like it says 5 years ago, but he's got a bunch of videos all about this stuff. Blood spatter analysis. I mean, he's got a ton of videos, but we'll take a little look-see at this one. Let's make this full screen.
Here are some examples of some blood spatter, and we're going to go through how you would analyze these and what information you can get from looking at images such as these. So the first off, it's blood spatter, not splatter. To spatter means to scatter small particles of a substance, and a spatter is the pattern of drops that result from spattering. A splatter means a larger scatter of particles or substances, and the splatter is a pattern of drops that result from the splattering. So we're looking at blood spatter analysis, not splatter. Just a little kind of look at the kind of definition of the two terms there.
Yeah, the people who study this for a living and teach it for a living, they can't stand it when you say splatter, just so we're clear. It's spatter, not splatter, spatter.
So this spatter patterns, blood spatter patterns can vary from a few drops to large pools, but again, all still classified as those spatter patterns. Regardless, the pattern is left by blood traveling in space and then coming into contact with a surface. Now, it could be different types of surfaces at different angles, but this is just speaking in the general terms here. So pattern observations. So here's that same image from the title slide. Want to make careful observations and measurements of the position and shape of the blood stains, because they can provide information of the angle of impact, travel, velocity of the droplets. There's different types of patterns, and we can classify them in general as passive, projected, transfer, or contact. All of these can play.
Okay, types of patterns, friends, if you're taking notes. Passive, projected, transfer, or contact.
An important role in determining what may have gone on at a crime scene. So first off, the passive bloodstains. They're patterns created simply from the force of gravity. They can be a single drop, they can be a series of drops, it can be a flow pattern, it can be blood pools. All of these are passive because they're relying mainly on the forces of gravity to carry them and to move them. Then there's also projected bloodstains. These are patterns that occur when a force is applied to the source of the blood. It can be low impact spatters, it can be high impact, it can be medium impact, cast-offs, arterial spurting in extreme cases, blood blown out of the nose, the mouth, or a wound. In some way they're projected, in some way they have forces applied to them beyond that of.
And when we get into looking at photos, just remember this here. Okay, just remember this wall and what you're seeing on this wall. Just keep this all in mind. Some of the things that you're seeing and what blood does when it leaves the body, because it has no other choice than to follow the laws of physics and gravity. It's just how it is.
Gravity. We have transfer or contact bloodstains. So here we have these patterns are created when wet, bloody objects come in contact with the target surface. This can be used to identify the object or the bloody part. A wipe pattern is created from an object moving through bloodstains, while a swipe pattern is created from an object leaving a bloodstain. So a little important distinction.
Keep this image particularly, see this wipe pattern? Keep that wipe pattern in mind when we are looking at photos of the crime scene.
There. Last, we have the blood spatter analysis. It's important because it can support or refute suspect statements, may be used to help reconstruct a crime scene. Proper analysis can provide the how of a crime. So this is why you not just look at it as, oh, we found blood evidence. We want to look at analyzing that splatter pattern.
Yeah. Hang on. Let's close that. Stop sharing that. Okay. All right. So I did link, obviously, the Boston University's video, as well as Dr. DeBacco here. I did link the videos in the description. If you guys want to go, follow the channels, go ahead. He's got a lot of great stuff when it comes to that. So just wanted to at least show you guys a few videos, just some basic things that you can go find, you know, to kind of educate yourself a little bit, or, you know, if you just want to geek out on that shit like I do, like I just geek out. I've been geeking out on this blood at this crime scene and trying to learn everything that I possibly can about blood spatter analysis and blood stain analysis since NBC released the photos. Not gonna lie. So, you know, it's just things that I geek out on. You know, and if you want brainworms and you like to geek out too, well, there you go. That's how you can do that. Now, let me go over here and get here because we're going to look at a few things. Okay, do that. Let's do this. All right, guys. It's your last chance to click out. Okay. Okay. Make sure everybody can see that okay. All right. Can everybody see that okay? Just want to make sure before we go too much further. Obviously, I will be zooming in and out. Yes. I just want to make sure you guys can see that. Okay. Can see it. Okay. Awesome. Now, based on some of the photos that we were just looking at, and, you know, some of the interesting things that they got to tell us here, you know, it sucks that it has to be graphic, but it is what it is when you're dealing with blood stain pattern analysis. Now, this photo right here is super interesting to me because if you look here, you can clearly see the outline of someone's face. Okay. You can see here where literally the blood is seeped into the eyelashes. You can see almost like the mouth. But now what's interesting is that a lot of this blood, you have all of this skeletonization on the outside of these blood stains here, right? And it would appear that this person was face down. Okay. And then, you know, here on the wall, I can't tell if that is back spatter. I cannot tell if that is because it's, you know, to me, it looks like the body was moved, because if the person here, right, who was face down and all of this blood is here, I'm not exactly sure how their head is no longer in the photo here and they've somehow been moved over to the right. One thing I did notice about this photo too is that a lot of the blood here, you can see it's almost dry, right? A lot of these spots are basically dried, which is super interesting until you get up to this particular pooling here in the center of the blanket, as well as here. Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is clearly the outline of a face, which means whoever this is, they were face down, bleeding, right? And, you know, if they were right here, face down, right? And it would appear the injury that they sustained was more to the right, where you have this much larger pooling, and then here at the mouth as well, right? You would expect to see some kind of, on the back wall here, some kind of spattering back here, but it would appear that what we have is coming this way, right? So it's super interesting to me when you look at how this stain is here on the wall in comparison to whoever this was here that was face down, and something's been moved here. Unfortunately. I mean, I don't know shit. I am no one, but this literally appears as though this person has been moved, because it would appear that they initially sustained their injury face down. Just my opinion. I don't know shit, but based on what we're looking at here, also, it would appear these injuries, these blood droplets, do appear to be mostly dry. There is quite a bit of skeletonization, even here on the pillow, around the pooling of the blood. You have quite a few areas, even around this drop here. You can see the skeletonization on the outside of the drop where it's dried, and then you still have the wetter area in the middle, right? So it's super interesting to me that, and then you have this much larger drop here. So it's just my very layman's opinion that something, for whatever reason, this person was moved. They're not in their original position. And much of this blood is actually dry. Okay, so let's go to the next one. This is where it gets interesting for me, because now we are in Ethan and Xana's room. And as you can see here, now I'm sorry for these little things down here, okay? It was a screen share, the screen grab that I was getting on my phone to be able to try to zoom in. It is what it is. NBC Nightly News slapped their shit on it when they released the photos, but I think we can all get the gist here. See all these much larger pools of blood, okay? All underneath the nightstand. If you notice, none of these pools here have any like real skeletonization going on. Okay. Anybody else noticing that? Stone, welcome in. Beckles, hello. Amy Conway, hello. Good to see you. Dago. What up, Dago? Sorry, I'm just getting back to chat, guys. I was in another window. Welcome in, Dago. Always good to see you. Welcome in, everybody. If you're just joining, thank you for being here. Nothing half-assed. Hello. Good to see everyone. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so as we get into this, right, you'll notice that a lot of this pooling here in Ethan and Xana's room, this is like super fresh, okay, compared to what we were just looking at in the other room. No? Like we have pooling on that pillow where you can clearly see skeletonization because it has dried. It's had 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours before it's being photographed to dry. So that's why skeletonization starts on the outside and works its way in as blood is drying, right? So it's super interesting to me that you have all of these much larger pools here in Ethan and Xana's room that have not even started to there is no skeletonization occurring. That was like one of the things that kind of jumped out to me on these pools here. The other thing is what we were just looking at with those passive stains transfer. If you look on the nightstand here, I know it's a little bit blurry, but you can clearly see these passive transfer stains, right? This would appear to be someone who already has blood all over them, and it is transferring like from their clothing or whatever, smearing, or maybe it's dripping off their hand or something and they are smearing it onto the nightstand. But much of what we're seeing here, a lot of this pooling, okay, like this is wild to me because there is no drying occurring. That's where it's fucking me up. There's no drying occurring. And like, look at these smears on this nightstand. Okay. See all these smearing? These passive smears, along with all of this pooling here. Transfer smears. You have these larger droplets here. Like, it's like someone is literally standing here bleeding out, right? That's literally what it looks like. And not only are they bleeding out, but they're also transferring and smearing. It's just what it looks like. I'm no one. I don't know shit. But like, Look at these huge pools of blood that have no drying happening. And it's just super interesting to me because we should be seeing skeletonization, especially if, all right, I'm going to stop sharing that. I do have another one for you. Hang on. We should be seeing skeletonization, right? Especially with what's going on in the upstairs room and all of the drying of that blood. Like upstairs, it looks like that blood had 9, 10, 11, 12 hours to dry. Ethan and Xana's room, all of the blood looks incredibly fresh, in my opinion. It looks incredibly fresh. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's open that. Let me share this. Okay. We'll get here. Let's make this bigger. Here's what I'm talking about. So, if you notice these drops here, these cast off on the back wall. Look at how fresh those are, right? If you notice here on this wall, it's all fresh. If you notice on the blanket, where we're seeing blood in the blanket, right? Almost no skeletonization happening with any of this blood. Really, no matter where you look. Pick a spot, and there is really almost no skeletonization happening here, which is super interesting to me because this blood is supposed to be like 10 plus hours old, if not longer, at the time of these photographs, right? So I just find that super interesting that, and then all of this transfer, all of these transfers here, you know, I'm not exactly sure why none of the blood in this room is drying, but upstairs it was. So here you can kind of see better. It's not a lot of stuff on the bottom, but do you see what I mean about all of this pooling, right? Notice that all of this pooling, like this shit is still like super glossy, shiny, very wet. There is no skeletonization happening even on the outer edges of any of this pooling. Even as you get up to the nightstand, you know, some of this looks a little bit dry, but it's more like smeared rather than dry, I guess is the best way that I could describe what I'm trying to talk about here. And now let's look here. So this is Ethan and Xana's bed. This is what I'm talking about. See here. These drops here are like soaked, right? Still super, super wet. And then even when you get back up here, you can see the pattern in which the weapon itself is literally coming up. And as the weapon is coming up and being raised, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a bigger picture where I'll show you. There's 7. There are 7 droplets along this wall, along with 2 of these cast off downward trajectory droplets here. Okay. If you see on the back wall, you got 1. It starts out over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 1 here. 9. You have these 3 here. These drops here on the bed. But notice, see, like you bring in the weapon up, it's literally dripping as you bring the weapon up, and then, you know, force as you pull the weapon back and then bring it back down. Centrifugal force is going to kick in, right? You're getting these droplets. They're literally just following gravity. And as you bring the weapon back down, you're going to get these more elongated droplets. I don't know. That to me just seems like makes sense, but I mean, I could be wrong, but like, look at this. Look at all of this pooling where no drying is occurring. And I don't know how that's possible for all of the, if if everybody was kind of attacked and, taken around the same time, I would expect the blood in both places, for the most part, it should be dried pretty similarly. So it's super interesting to me that all of this blood in this room for Ethan and Xana is still so unbelievably fresh, even after like 10 plus hours. But upstairs, it looks dried and like how it should look. It's very interesting. And like none of the blood in this room looks like it's had time to dry. And you can even see like literally the cast off pattern here on the back wall. Stop sharing that for a second. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know, Beckles. That's what I was trying to determine too, because obviously heat, cold temperatures, things like that are going to affect how like blood dries and stuff. The problem that I'm having is like, allegedly the front door was wide open. We don't know how long it was open for. It's just super interesting to me that if everybody was allegedly killed in their sleep at the same time, in the same house, say the front door wasn't left open, everything is copacetic, we'll go by the original narrative. Everyone's asleep. They're all killed in their sleep. I don't understand how both rooms have entirely different looking blood. Regardless of anything else, I don't understand how blood in one room looks like it just happened, whereas blood in the other room looks like it's hours upon hours old, because that's just not how blood operates. So, super interesting. In my opinion, I'm no one, no facts here. I don't know shit. But there is, in case I'm gonna do this just so that, hopefully, because I know that my own video, I won't copyright strike myself. So the reason I showed you those two videos, okay, that are from actual professors, universities, okay, is to be able to show you this. And hopefully it'll help make sense of my brainworms. Hang on one second. Let's do this. I'm going to share one more video with you, friends. It's not long. It's 7 minutes and 50 seconds. I appreciate your patience. If it happens, we will skip it. Let's do this. My browser has blocked my screen. What? Fuck off. Let's fix that. Here we go. Okay, one more. Sorry, friends. Listen, this was like one of the first real videos that I put together on my own. I'm semi-proud of it. I did use a little bit of the AI to assist me in the narration, okay, and some of the imagery, but all of the crime scene photos in this video have not been altered. They are the originals that were released to NBC News and disseminated to the public.
An analysis is the study of bloodstains at a crime scene. It helps investigators understand the events that occurred. Blood does not lie. It leaves a record on walls, floors, objects. Forensic scientists learn to read this record. They look at the size-shape distribution of bloodstains. This information can reconstruct a sequence of actions. It can corroborate or refute witness statements. It is a powerful tool in the search for truth. Blood speaks a silent language. We just need to know how to listen and interpret what it is telling us. It is a discipline that combines physics, biology, and careful observation. This field is not about making guesses. It is based on scientific principles. The way blood behaves when it leaves the body follows the laws of physics. The size of a blood drop tells a story about speed and force. This is a fundamental concept in bloodstain analysis. The term we use is velocity, which refers to the speed of the impact that creates the drops. We categorize spatter into three main groups. Low-velocity spatter results from forces traveling at less than 5 feet per second. These drops are typically large, usually 4 millimeters in diameter or more. They are often created by blood dripping from a wound due to gravity alone. They are big, round, and tell a story of a slow, passive event. Think of a simple nosebleed or a cut finger dripping onto the floor. Medium velocity spatter is created by forces between 5 and 25 feet per second. This results in smaller droplets, generally between 1 and 4 millimeters in diameter. These patterns are commonly associated with blunt force trauma. A punch with a fist or a strike with a bat can produce this type of spatter. The force of the impact breaks the blood into smaller particles. Forensic scientists have identified several distinct types of bloodstain patterns. One of the most basic is the passive stain. These stains form under gravity alone, no external force. Simple drips, flows, pools. A drip trail is a series of passive drops that shows movement. It can reveal the path a bleeding person took as they walked, ran. Shape and spacing of drops can indicate speed. Slow movement creates circular drops close together. A pool of blood forms when a bleeding person remains in one place. Blood collects on a horizontal surface, creating a large accumulated stain. Size and shape can suggest volume lost. Size and shape can indicate how long the body stayed there. The edges dry first. This is called skeletonization. If disturbed after partial drying, the original outline remains visible. That outline can show post-event activity. Impact spatter is different. It's created when a force strikes liquid blood. The stains radiate from the point of...
Wanted to pause here for a minute because anybody see this right here? This little spot here. So if you go to the actual Idaho State Police crime scene pics that they released, and you get to the portion, it's back, I don't know, it's in like the pages 300 or something like that, where Brian's car is inside the evidence garage, you can see the mattress leaning up against the wall, and you get a much clearer image that you can zoom in on. But if you look here on this mattress, it literally looks like either a footprint, okay, literally. And then there's also one over here too, like underneath this little heart. This is a screenshot from somewhere, but even over on this side of the bed, like it literally looks right here like a actual footprint, or like a knee and then like knuckles, like if someone's kneeling and then like has to put their fist down on the bed or something like that. I don't know. To me, it looks like a foot. It looks like a footprint, but just my opinion. I don't know shit.
Impact. Droplet size relates to force velocity. Transfer stains are created when a wet, bloody object comes into contact with another surface. The pattern left behind is a mirror image or impression of that object. These are some of the most recognizable and informative stains. A bloody handprint on a wall, a shoe print on the floor, the smear from a piece of fabric. They can help identify objects present at the scene. They can also establish a link between a suspect and a victim. A clear transfer pattern can show direction of movement, such as a person wiping a bloody hand as they fled. Cast-off patterns are a dynamic type of stain. They are created when a blood...
Here's the problem with the transfer on that nightstand. For me, anyway. Right? Because the problem is that Xana's found on the floor, the inside of the room. We have someone literally bleeding out on the floor between the bed and the nightstand, transferring blood as they move. Right? So that would not be your perpetrator. That's the victim. Right? If one of them is, if Ethan's the one found in the bed and Xana's the one found on the floor, doesn't it just make the most sense the person that's bleeding out and pooling blood and smearing it along the nightstand would be Xana? As she's trying to get out of the room, crawl to the door. I'm not sure, but doesn't that make the most sense when you really look at it? Just saying.
The object is swung through the air. Centrifugal force causes blood to fly off the object and onto a nearby surface. This typically happens when an assailant swings a weapon, bat, pipe, knife. The resulting stains usually form a linear pattern. The resulting stains usually form an arc-shaped pattern. By analyzing these arcs, an investigator can learn a great deal. The number of cast-off trails may correspond to the minimum number of blows delivered. Arterial spray patterns are dramatic and distinct. They occur when a main...
Dago, welcome on in, new member. Look at you. Dago became a new member. Welcome in, sir. Thanks so much. Truly appreciate you. You're awesome. And Dago's gifting memberships. Oh, well, look at that. Dago just made 5 of you green. Michael emojis, hearts in the chat. Get those Michael Myers emojis in the chat. You just got gifted a membership. There's 5 of you. I can't see what 5 of you got it, but welcome, welcome. Clifton, hello. Yeah, mild snark. It's a mild snark Sunday today. Today we're just looking at blood because my brain has been geeking out on this shit for the last couple of months, just brainworm after brainworm. So that's what we're doing today. Leah, you are a member. You're green, darling. Look at that. You're green. I'm guessing it was Dago. Dago turned you green. Nothing half-assed. Hello. So, you know, I know it sounds awful, right? Like I am not, it's just super interesting to me that the way that it would appear based on the blood in Ethan and Xana's room is that Ethan is the one who is, deceased first. The defense was going to argue they were attacked at the same time, correct? If I remember correctly. Somewhere in these documents, somewhere it was suggested that they were going to argue Ethan and Xana were attacked at the same time by 2 perpetrators, right? Thank you so much, Dago. You're amazing. Truly appreciate that. So, like, I'm trying to figure out in my mind, like, where the defense was going with this. If you're alleging 2 perpetrators attacking them both at the same time, and then based on what we're seeing in these photos, she's found by the door. It's not the perpetrator like dragging her to the door and then leaving her there. Do you get what I'm saying? It would be that she's like injured, bleeding out, perps are gone, and she is like still moving around the room. Is what it looks like to me, which is super interesting if that's correct. But that's just what that blood in that room is looking like to me. It's looking like he is in the bed. She is severely injured. She is bleeding out and also moving around because she is not in the bed. So clearly the point I'm getting at is they weren't killed in their sleep. Number one, she's clearly wide awake. I understand they said she had defensive wounds and stuff, but the blood in the room isn't making sense, especially where it's still so fresh. And it is supposed to be about the same time old blood as the blood upstairs. And I'm not seeing in any of the photos we got from Ethan and Xana's room, I am seeing almost no drying of the blood in that room, which is wild. Like I'm telling you, my brain like melted for the last few days, just stuck on that. Because when you look at it, like most of the blood that is upstairs where Kaylee is, other than the pillow, there's like one spot on the pillow, one spot on the blanket, where you can still see it's technically still pretty wet, but you have a lot of skeletonization occurring around it. Whereas what's going on in Ethan and Xana's room has like no skeletonization, none on any of it. Like none of it. I can't find a drop in any of these pictures that seem to have skeletonization and the same, what it would appear to be the same drying pattern as the drying pattern from upstairs. Even the actual what is on the blanket upstairs and the wall upstairs and the pillow upstairs in comparison to Ethan and Xana's room, they're not even similar. It's almost like the injuries aren't even similar. It's almost like you would expect to be seeing similar, like, blood patterns, right? You would, it just looks so different between the two areas. Okay, that's my brainworms. I don't know shit. I am no one. Do not listen to me. But these are just my brainworms. It's the transfer patterns and the pooling in their room that has my brain melted, because it doesn't look anything like what's upstairs. And the two should be semi-matching and cohesive if they happened at the exact same time.
Major artery is breached. The heart continues to pump blood, forcing it out of the wound in spurts that correspond to the person's heartbeat. This creates a unique pattern of large, arcing stains. The blood is projected outward, often covering a large area. The pattern may show rises and falls in an undulating wave, reflecting the pulsating pressure of the arterial blood flow. The height and projection of these sprays can help determine the location of the victim when the injury was sustained. It unequivocally points to a catastrophic and often rapidly fatal injury. Another set of patterns specific to gunshot wounds are forward spatter and back spatter. Forward spatter consists of blood that travels in the same direction as the projectile. It exits the body at the wound and continues onward. Back spatter, or blowback, is blood that is directed back toward the source of the energy. In a shooting, this means blood can be projected back toward the firearm and the shooter.
Before anybody loses their shit, okay, and tries coming in the comments, if you are replay crewed and you're going to be like, oh my God, are you trying to suggest that somebody was shot? La, 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 la. Stop. These are just examples of why you would see forward spatter, back spatter. Doesn't necessarily need to be from a gunshot, but it's usually with some sort of high velocity impact that you're going to get it, okay? And it's usually going to follow the trajectory of the object, be it a firearm, someone swinging a baseball bat extremely fast and hard. You're going to have this high velocity that comes back at the person in the object swinging it or shooting it, etc. Don't come for me. I'm not suggesting anything. However, I will say the wall upstairs is very interesting, which is why I was showing you guys earlier this particular photo, and how if you really zoom in, you can clearly see the face print in the pillow, the eyelashes. You can see like where the blood pooled around the eyelashes, meaning whoever that is, that person was face down at some point, and they've been moved. It is what it is. They're no longer face down. So just saying, just pointing that out, just pointing it out. I don't know shit.
Finding microscopic droplets of back spatter on a suspect's hands, clothing the weapon itself, can place that person at the scene at the moment the shot was fired. It is powerful evidence of proximity to the event.
See, like, even, I don't know if how well you guys can see this, okay? But like, if you look at the spots here, right? What's super interesting to me about this is that the smaller they get, the further they spray out. So you have this much larger initial, like bam. And you have this downward trajectory. But then it's like, that's the initial injury. And then all of this much smaller spatter here along the wall. And you can even see like the distinct space in between. Like, look at, it's almost like exactly. So the voids are super interesting to me. That's another thing with blood, is going to be your voids and where you have voids. And you notice here, we have this, it's almost like it comes up like this U shape here. I wish I could draw on the screen. You have this like U shape, and you have the larger drops in the front, and they get smaller as they spray out. But look at the spacing in between them. It's almost perfect symmetry on this spacing on these drops. I don't know if you guys can see that, but like if I was to, I would say they're about an inch apart, inch and a half apart, and it's like perfect spacing on the wall, and it sprays almost like back this way, but it's like this U pattern. It's super, super interesting to me. And then you have these much larger droplets downward, which would indicate that this person was sitting up and like next to the wall. That's literally the best way I could describe it, that it was like the person was actually sitting up against the wall with the initial injury. That's just my opinion.
The appearance of a bloodstain changes significantly over time. Freshly shed blood is a liquid. It is typically bright red and has a glossy surface. As it begins to dry, it undergoes a transformation. Red, deep reddish brown, almost black. The drying process begins at the edges of the stain and progresses inward. Factors in the environment heavily influence the speed of this process. Heat, low humidity, direct airflow. Conversely, cold temperatures, high humidity. Observing the state of drying can provide a rough timeline. If a stain is still wet and liquid, the incident likely occurred recently.
Okay. If the stain is still wet and liquid, the incident likely occurred recently. Now, when you look at this photo here for upstairs, it's clear much of this blood here is dried, including what's on the wall. You have 2 spots that we can see in this photo, right? On the blanket and on the pillow, okay? Where it still appears to be wet, but when you really zoom in, you can see the skeletonization and the drying process that has occurred with this blood. But when you look at Ethan and Xana's room, that blood is still very liquid, very shiny, very glossy. There is almost no skeletonization, no drying happening. It's just super interesting because forensics would dictate that the blood that is happening in Ethan and Xana's room happened much longer after the whatever happened with the blood upstairs. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because the blood upstairs has had plenty of time to start its drying process and become skeletonized and or fully dry in most spots. Whereas the downstairs does not have that. So it is just, you're getting my brain worms, friends. It is what it is. This is just my brain.
If it is completely dry and flaked, it is much older. One important
See? If it's completely dry, maybe flaking, it's much older. Right. Exactly. Right.
phenomenon is skeletonization. This happens when the outer rim of a bloodstain dries while the center is still wet. In conclusion, bloodstain patterns are a rich source of forensic information. Each drop, each smear, each pool is a piece of physical evidence that contributes to a larger narrative. By analyzing droplet size, analysts infer force. Low-velocity drops suggest gravity at work. High-velocity mist points toward events like gunshots. The shape of a stain reveals its path. That path allows reconstruction of victim and assailant positions. These physical characteristics together tell a story. They stand independent of memory or deception, providing a factual backbone for investigation. Different pattern types correspond to specific actions and injuries. Cast-off patterns, swinging weapon, sealing, arterial spray, severed artery, pulsating bleed, wall, expirated blood, bubbles, respiratory involvement. Transfer stains, place an object or person at a location. Identifying this catalog lets investigators piece a sequence of events. They can determine the nature of an assault. They can determine the number of blows. They can determine movements after bloodshed began. Analysis requires extreme care and precision.
Okay. So. Yeah, Meg. No, that was my video. Yeah, well, I figured, you know what? I'm going to play it because the reason I played the other two first was to show that when I made my video, I wasn't just pulling it out of my ass. The information wasn't just pulled out of thin air, you know? Like, of course, I had the AI help me with the narration, but all of that is factual, scientific, forensic information that is taught everywhere when it comes to blood stain and blood pattern analysis. So, you know, I didn't just pull the information from nowhere, you know. Young Black Economist, welcome on in. Thank you, honey. Good to see you, darling. So, you know, I guess I'm just having a really hard time. Beach babe, hi, honey. How you doing? Nothing MS. We need Dexter. I mean, I'm trying to be like the layman's Dexter, you know. I really have been working behind the scenes, guys, just to educate myself when I can, in between work, in between my very busy schedule, you know. And I'm not just you know, I'm pulling PDFs, I'm pulling all kinds of information which is readily available across the internet for all of us to utilize. So, you know, if it's something that interests you, I suggest, you know, literally just looking up like bloodstain pattern analysis, forensics, things like that for bloodstain analysis. And the more you learn, and then you go and look every single time I've learned something new, and then I go back and look at the photos, it's like my brain melts a little more, not gonna lie, because it's not making sense. It's just not making sense the more that I look at it. And I'm just looking at it like forensically. Never mind anything else, right? It's not about Brian. It's not about anything. I'm looking at this scene, their photos of this scene, and something is just not correct. There is something very wrong, especially with the blood. There's something very wrong. It is what it is. And I am no one, and I don't know anything, and they have experts and they have their people who they have look at it. Okay. And if I'm wrong, fine, I'm wrong. But to me, it would appear we are looking at two separate incidents that did not occur at the same time. And I know that that sounds absolutely insane, but I'm just saying, based on the drying patterns of the blood, that is just my opinion. It is just my opinion, right? And my opinion don't mean shit. But like the drying patterns of the blood is super interesting to me. So, well, Doc, thank you. I mean, I'm trying, right? And I'm not here to like try and push what I think onto anybody else. I just want to present the information that I know is accurate, scientific, forensically. It's what's taught. And then, you know, people make their own determination of what they're looking at. But I also know that they pulled these photos really quickly, right? They put them up and then pulled them. So I'm glad that I got them, because this is exactly why they now moved for these restraining orders to block. No, you know, if you are going to release photos, you can't show the blood or the bodies. I'm of the opinion this is exactly why. They do not want anyone looking at this blood because even the average person like me who just goes and does like their own nerding out on stuff like this when they have time, if I can look at it and feel like, I don't know, there might be an issue, I can only imagine how maybe some other people with a little bit more experience in the field are going to look at it. Then again, I could just be a complete fucking idiot, right? It's also could be that I'm just stupid, right? So it's fine. You know, that's why I'm saying I'm not here to push what I think. It's just more and more I'm looking at everything. I'm like, oh my God, they definitely don't want us looking at the blood. Now I kind of understand why, in my opinion. Christie's Chaos. Hello, darling. How are you? Welcome on in. Good to see you. Yeah, exactly. See, I'm more nothing half-assed. I'm more about just the blood. Like, a lot of people are like, why would you even want to see the crime scene photos? I'm like, because I want to see the blood. Right? No, I'm not a weirdo. No, I'm not a serial killer. It's nothing like that. That is the shit that I nerd out on, and I have since for as long as I can remember. I've always been super interested in just blood itself, what it does, how it works. Always, for as long as I can remember. I wanted to be the person that like went to take your blood, right? If you had to get your blood taken, I wanted to come in and take your blood. And then I realized that if I did that as a job, I would have to deal with like screaming children and adults who are terrified of needles, that would try to assault me and kick me and hurt me because I need to take their blood. And I decided I didn't want to do that job anymore. I didn't want to go to school for that. But now the study of blood, blood droplets, things like that. Yeah, I've been nerding out on that shit since literally middle school, and no one's going to tell me that I shouldn't or that I can't or that it's offensive to someone or whatever. I don't care. It's what I nerd out on. That's why I want the photos. I will say, okay, Matthew Gamet, if you're listening, asshole, it's been well over 60 days since I put in my request for the Liz Q 360 photos. I was told there are 7,000 of them by Mr. Gamet. Okay. And I put in a separate request for all 7,000 of those photos. And I noticed that people are getting their FOIAs responded to for body cams and other shit. But isn't it interesting that for 60 days I've been asking for a cost estimate and how long it would take to put together the 7,000 photos for me? Over 60 days, haven't gotten a single response. Okay. So I'm just going to let you guys know there's a reason they're responding to certain things. And they're like, yeah, sure, we'll take your money for that shit. And other things they won't even give you a cost estimate for. If anybody else has gotten a cost estimate on their request for just strictly Liz Q 360 photos, there are 7,000 of them in ISP's possession, according to Matthew Gamet. I have the email. I was told to file a separate request for that. I did over 60 days ago. I've also followed up to ask where it is. That it's been over 60 days. I'm still waiting for a cost estimate and a response. And I still haven't gotten anything. So isn't that interesting? I promise you what really matters, the shit they're giving out to people, doesn't matter. That's why they're giving it to them. And they're making you pay for it. The things they don't want us to have are the things they're getting restraining orders on and that they won't respond to. Like the actual photos that matter. Also, I did a live. I don't remember when or where it was, but we did already do a live regarding the Liz Q 360 software, how it works. If you're interested in that, go look it up on YouTube. There's plenty of videos about Liz Q 360, what it does, how it works. And according to Mr. Gamet, there's over 7,000 photos in ISP's possession that were done with Liz Q 360. So get your requests in. File a separate request strictly for Liz Q 360. 7,000 photos. You need a cost estimate and how long it's going to take them to put it together. That's all you need to do. Short, sweet, simple, to the point. I'm going to email them again on Monday, tomorrow, about it. So that's why I want the 7,000 photos. Because, you know, I'm of the opinion that whether you like it or not, just because someone else wouldn't want to look at that doesn't mean someone else doesn't, right? Like, I'm sorry, but if this is what we do, we're going to cover true crime cases. It would be no different than if I was looking at the Sharon Tate murders, right? If I was looking at any other crime, we're going to put a warning. We're going to put a trigger warning. We're going to be looking at graphic things, talking about graphic things. That is why this channel is not made for kids. But I'm not going to be told that, why do you even want this? Why are you even, what do you know, is there something wrong with you that you want to look at this? No. I feel there's something wrong with you that you'd want to hide it. That's just my opinion. Because, you know, I'm not in the business of telling other people what to do, so I'd appreciate it if they don't tell me what to do. You know what I mean? I'm not telling you you have to look at it, but you're not going to tell me I shouldn't. If it's something that the public is legally entitled to, if it's something we are allowed to request, we have, it is what it is. I'm not asking for damn autopsy photos or anything. I just want the blood. I want the photos of the blood because blood doesn't lie, even when people do, right? Even when people lie, the blood doesn't. This is how, sometimes blood is what can get people exonerated because all it takes is one mistake by the person, the crime scene tech. If you didn't measure something correctly, one drop of blood could either convict you or clear you. It's that simple. And that is why it needs to be conducted with such scrutiny. Literally, one single droplet of blood could either fucking convict you or clear you. Literally. And it really all depends on the technician, the person doing it, the investigator, the lab people. Like, it really does, and if you've got, I'm just saying, it is what it is. You definitely don't want a newbie doing this. You definitely want someone with experience. Like, do we even know whether or not, how did they, if they used Liz Q 360, okay, at this crime scene, that's like almost better than Pharaoh scanning. Okay. Liz Q 360 can literally measure every drop of blood in the room for you. And it can create like a full fucking 4D model. You can walk up to bodies. You can walk up to blood. You can walk up to the table, to the bed, to the dresser, all of it. It's incredibly detailed. So I want those photos. I don't want Officer fucking Snyder or whoever it was cell phone pics. I don't want cell phone pics. I want the Liz Q 360 photos. So everybody, put in a request to Idaho State Police. Christy, darling, I know you like your FOIAs, honey. Do one separately, specifically for Liz Q 360. There's 7,000 photos. There you go. Throw one in. For fuck's sake, Fitziana, if you feel like doing it, throw one in. Kane B, everybody, throw one in. Right? Those are the photos we want. Okay? And we need to know how much it's going to cost to get them and how long it's going to take them to put it together. Because it's been months. Months. We're going into month 3. I asked for this shit, I want to say back at the 2nd or 3rd week of August. 2nd week of August. So we're waiting on those. I will email again. Yeah, Doc Terry, exactly. Like, I don't care where the truth leads either, right? If it leads to Brian, awesome. But I will say, it would appear based on their own, forensic accounting of this case, unfortunately, there's much more than Brian Kohberger's trace DNA at this crime scene. There is literally another man's DNA mixed with victim DNA on the back of the sheet that they never bothered to fucking identify. So, at the very least, there's one other person involved in this crime. The defense knows it. The state knows it. Brian knows it. They all know it. Jeff Nye, Bicka Barlow. It doesn't matter. Pick a side. They all know. Hitler. They are all fully aware there is at the very least one other person involved that they never bothered to identify. Or if they did, where is that person and why aren't they charged? Right? Just saying. I have no problem with where it leads. That's the thing. I'm not one of those people who is like, Brian's 1,000,000% innocent. He didn't do it, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm not going to pretend I do. What I do know is looking at the forensic record in this case and the limited amount of crime scene pics that we've had released to the public, something is very wrong about what's actually happening in this crime scene here. There's something that's not adding up. That's just my opinion. I'm no one. But if you do your own due diligence, look at the photos yourself, click on the videos that I linked in the description of this live. Go look at some more from Boston University and the other professor that we looked at. There's so much information out there to be able to educate yourself on the topic and then go back and look at this crime scene and understand there's something wrong. And it doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist, and it doesn't make you a crazy person to understand that there's something wrong with even just the blood alone. Never mind the unknown DNA, male DNA, they never bothered to identify as far as we know. So that's multiple things wrong here. No matter where it leads, I don't care, right? Doesn't matter to me. So here's what we're going to do. Okay. Let's look at this real quick. Oh, wait. Oopsie. Hang on one second. Let me do this. Exit out of that. Okay. All right. Close that out. Close that out. Okay. So here's what we're going to do if you guys are up for it. What time is it? It's 1:30. I have an hour. If you guys are up for it, I'll drop the link. We can have a little chatty poo about what we were just looking at. But first, I've got to pee. So I'm going to mute real quick. Talk amongst yourselves. Don't dip. I'm going to drop the link when I get back. Hang on, friends. All right. Much better. Okay. Virgil Green. Hello. Welcome on in. Good to see you, young black economist. If I didn't say hi to you earlier, honey, hello. Amy Conway. Hi, honey. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to drop the link. If anybody wants to come up and have a little chit chat about what we were just looking at, give your thoughts, even if you don't agree. Okay. You may not agree with the damn thing I showed or said. Also fine. As long as you're cool about it, we'll be fine. There we go. Okay. I put the link in chat. If anybody wants to pop up, tell me what you think. I got to tell you, I'm just having a hard time with the blood in the house. I really am. Too fast for fleas. Look at you. You're so pretty. Welcome on in. Happy Sunday to you. Hopefully you are well. Oh, look at this. We got Dago. Hello, sir.
And hello to you. How are you today?
I'm good. How you doing? Welcome on in.
I am wonderful. I hope that it wasn't. I hope I was okay coming up here.
Of course. Yeah, that's why I put the link in chat if anybody wanted to come up and chit chat.
I really appreciate this show today. My show, it's set for 2:15. Hopefully, if I have to leave, I have to leave. But that doesn't mean I want you to go down any sooner. I hate to miss anything you do. I was irritated.
Oh no,
I
I mean,
late.
I'll probably be done in like the next 20 minutes or so. I can't stay on much longer anyway.
Well, either way, this is amazing. I'm going to add this, if you don't mind, to what I was talking about with the timeline issues. I'm going to be talking about that because I think this makes sense. I think that's where this comes into play at. And I agree with you that I think it's part of the reason why they didn't want us looking at these photographs is because there are people out here that has background, that has common sense in some of this aspect is all it really takes, but that they don't want these people looking at this stuff to question any of this, in my opinion.
Now, see, and I know that you also were a first responder for a very long time, and you've been to some super gruesome scenes in your day. And I know you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about how the blood looks so different in each room.
Yeah, it looks fresh. It truly looks like it was just done.
Yes.
And then when I caught, that's when I came in when you were describing that, and I was looking at that, and I went, how did I not notice this? This is amazing. Like and it's, folks, 8 hours. Okay. And
longer than that. By the time this blood is being photographed, that like the photos released to NBC, that's not like Officer Snyder's phone. Those are crime scene tech photos.
Right. And so it was, I was just, go ahead.
We're talking fucking 12, 13, 14-hour-old blood. It's supposed to be.
Right. Exactly. And see, I'm starting to wonder. I was talking the other day about the injuries. I was talking about Mabbitt calling the TOD noon and things, all of these little things. If you put this into play along with this information, folks, and these are all opinions, of course, don't take it as fact from me. It's opinion, just like Annie says. But it's what we're seeing. Okay. And I've been to scenes that have been, I'm not lying, and I'm not just saying this because of the conversation, but I've been to scenes where there's blood, where the scene, the actual action took place 2-3 hours beforehand or an hour or two, and it was way drier than that. Okay. So I have a huge issue with this now, and it blew my mind, Annie, completely blew my mind.
Well, what blew my mind is that once I learned about skeletonization, right, and realized what that was, I'm like, well, wait a minute. And I went back and looked at the photos, and I'm like, okay, so the upstairs room, clearly most of the blood on the blanket is dry, and what isn't, clear skeletonization is present. That blood upstairs has had plenty of time to dry.
Yeah.
Then you go look at the photos of Ethan and Xana's room, and it is literally fresh, wet, large puddles.
Right. And see, here's my issue. It was brought up about the doors being open, things like that, the cold air, all that. Okay, here's my issue. First off, the cold air is not going to make it to the top of the stairs and cause that much of an effect to that situation. That's the third floor I'm talking about. And mind you, the furnace was still going, I'm sure, all this kind of stuff, whatever. The second floor, it has to go up around the corner. And we were told, let me make sure I'm saying this right too, that Xana's door was slightly closed. That was the last thing we were told. Not all the way, but slightly. So that's going to block some of that cold air as well. That's why I'd asked if there were ceiling fans in the rooms that may have been on, any of that kind of stuff, because I think that'll cause and effect type thing. But this is a whole different aspect to this that I've never even thought about, and it's crazy that I didn't. Those photographs, I don't know the exact time. There was no timestamps on them, if I'm correct, but even if they were the first on scene that took these photographs, okay, say it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that, that still should have been a lot more.
The fact of the matter is that, so droplets, even if we just go by droplets on the bed, droplets on the wall, upstairs, droplets on the bed, the blanket, and the droplets on the wall, they're already dry.
Yeah.
Most of them are already completely dry. When you look in Xana and Ethan's room, just go by droplets.
Yes.
Droplets on bed, they're literally fresh.
Yes.
There's no skeletonization happening. There is no drying that is happening. And the only portions that appear to have had time to dry are the smears on the nightstand. The rest of it all still looks like fresh drops on the wall.
Yeah. And the smears, that's because they're thinner, folks. There's not as much depth and thickness to it, I guess, for lack of better terms. And that's, of course, they're going to dry faster. But anything that puddles or pools,
Yeah.
it's not. That's crazy.
We should have still seen
Yes.
drying on the outer edges of
The
the
edges.
pools.
And I hate to sound morbid here, but that makes me wonder. I would like to see a more clear photograph of where Xana was laying to see what that looks like around her. I know I'm never going to see it.
They're never going to give us any of that, you know, and it's absolutely messed up. Like, I get it. There are people out there that are like, oh my God, why would you want to look at crime scene photos? But none of your fucking business. That's why.
Because
literally,
don't
even have to give an answer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because we want to. Because
we want the truth.
I'm not gonna disseminate them.
Right.
I would blur. I don't even need to see bodies. That's the thing, right? I don't even need to. My thing is the blood.
That's it. You can blur her out. You can do anything you want, but show me everything that's around her. That's all I want to see now.
The blood doesn't lie. I want to see other transfer stains. I want to see other transfer patterns. I want to see other droplet patterns.
Absolutely.
And I'm allowed, you know, I don't even have to give a reason why, because I want to, because that's what I want to geek out on.
Absolutely. Forensics is forensics. People can call you Dexter all they want. I love Dexter, so I'm down with it. I love it. 100%. And that's a point. You can't fake, you cannot corrupt, fake, or hide what blood shows. I mean, that's just it, people. And that's the answer. In my opinion, I think that will give us answers to things that we can't get any other way. And one of my biggest things, and would tell the whole story, in my opinion, is the damn timeline. Okay. And this in itself.
Sorry, Dago. Hang on one second. Hey, chat, you got to let party on. No. What's my background? Go ahead, everybody. Party on is new here. Party on is brand new here. What is Miss Potts' background? Nurse, etc. What's the saying, Dago?
She don't know shit.
Miss Potts don't know shit. Party on. Welcome on in. Good to see you. Welcome. Continue, Dago. I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No. You're fine. But that calls into question the timeline, which has been called into question by many of us already because of all the BS that we've been told. So in turn, that could give an answer. And I think that's why none of that, I agree with you fully, that all clicked into place like a puzzle. That's why we're not supposed to see these photos now. That's why they don't want us looking at the crime scene. That's why they don't want us doing anything we do, because guess what? It's not going to take a rocket scientist to figure this out. It really isn't.
Oh, that's what I mean.
That's it.
Like I said, we can all have our own theories or whatever, right? And that's why I've been saying for like 2 months now, month and a half, the blood doesn't lie.
Well, let me throw something else into that mix.
And you know, even when Lana had Scott Roeder on, I know people gave Scotty a lot of shit because Scotty thinks Kohberger's like 1,000,000% guilty, right?
Right.
But what's fucking crazy is Scotty, just his initial assessment of the limited crime scene photos that we're looking at. Halls, what up? Welcome in. Good to see you, honey. Scotty is like, well, he's like, what it looks like is possibly left-handed perp, and this took a long time. Which is fucked up because Scotty doesn't know the case. Scotty didn't know that the state was trying to claim Brian did this in like fucking 4 minutes or less. He's just looking at and he's the expert in this shit. And his limited assessment of what he could see was like, well, wait, you know, he's like, well, clearly, and he has no idea that he didn't know Brian's right-handed.
Right.
So it's super interesting to see that even Scott Roeder, his initial assessment, knowing nothing about the case and what the state or Kohberger were going to present at court. Okay. His initial assessment, left-handed perp, and it took a long time.
And let me add something real quick, because the other day before yesterday, because I wasn't here yesterday at all, I showed a video Olivia did on TikTok. Olivia Goncalves. She stated that she was told by the prosecution when she sat down with them that they were experimental wounds here, quote unquote, and things like that, and that it looked like, and I'm saying this for a reason, that even after they stopped breathing, I guess you could say, that they continued to attack these victims. So that's interesting to me.
Oh, yeah, they're talking about experimental wounds, post-mortem wounds. And I'm sitting here saying, so, okay, so you've allocated approximately 2 to 4 minutes for him to get into the house. One of these people was stabbed over 50 times, one of them over 20. The other two, another 20 stab wounds between the two of them or so. So he inflicted close to 100 wounds in 2 to 4 minutes, still had time to hang around, inflict post-mortem wounds, and got out by 4:20, speeding away, not leaving a single trace of anything anywhere. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is why I say, like, okay, there's something wrong. Because if Scotty's right, which I think Scotty is, this did take a long time. They're fucking lying.
Bingo.
If you have post-mortem wounds, you understand?
Yep. Absolutely.
So, or experimental, we'll say, right?
Once again, that calls the timeline.
That takes a while.
Effect. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes,
So I'd be interested in asking, like, Detective Gilbertson, how much time was allocated for him to also inflict post-mortem wounds?
Right.
Where's that time allocated?
It doesn't fit because remember we were told, Annie, that he was in his car leaving at 4:21, correct?
I mean, for Detective Gilbertson and the other guy who were doing their little fucking test run through the house where they're just pretending to stab, counting off numbers and shit. When did they allocate into their experiment the time it would take to inflict post-mortem wounds?
They didn't. They didn't, as much as they didn't allocate anybody defending themselves, fighting back. Any of that time didn't fit into that at all. Welcome. Morning, Joanne. None of that was added into that. So it's a joke. That thing is a joke.
Hi, Joanne. Look, I'm just saying, exactly. I believe it's a joke too. Like News Nation, all of these people, these fucking assholes, they're the ones telling us, to always saying move on or calling everybody else, the internet people, conspiracy theorists.
Right.
If the case is closed, Brian Koberger's guilty. Why the fuck are you still interviewing family members and you're allowed to talk about it, but nobody else is?
Thank you. Because they have, I think I've said this the other day. I think they're worried because too many people are looking at this because we're still talking about it and they're looking at the things that we're pointing out and
they also know it's not over.
Right. That's it. That's
all
it
of
right
these
there.
people in the mainstream media have their little Fed boy ties. They all have their little friend who works in, for the Fed somewhere. It is what it is. They all have their little fucking, anonymous sources within these federal law enforcement agencies. Promise you, if people like Brian Enton and Ashley Banfield are still talking to certain family members and interviewing them and it's because they know it's actually not over. That's why they're still covering it.
Yep. I do agree with you.
Know what I mean? But that's just my opinion.
Agree. Absolutely.
Because why else would you keep talking about it? I thought it's all over. He's guilty, right? Nothing else is going to happen. So what are you talking about then? It's just pretty wild.
It's crazy. It makes no sense. But it does. That makes sense, of course. They know it's not over.
Yeah, but you have to remember, I can be on both sides too, Dago. So like I was talking with this about Fitzy earlier. For fuck's sake, Fitziana, she has all of my voice texts of me just losing my shit, because like here's my problem, right? I'm looking at this from if I'm Brian Koberger, I'm Ann Taylor, and I'm assigned to him as his attorney. We already know off the rip, the sheath is like the thing. So she already knows that when she's assigned his attorney, they have a sheath. left at the crime scene, they're claiming it's yours, right? It would be instantaneous that her and her client are going to speak about this sheath. Is it possible you ever had one? If so, where is it? Did you bring it with you? Did you leave it back home? Did you sell it? Right? If he was never in possession of one, he's never owned one, their argument would have been different, I feel. It would have been, this thing doesn't even fucking belong to him, and it never did. And you would fight, right? That it's not his at all. They've got it wrong. That piece of evidence they're claiming is his is in fact not his. And you would fight that all the way. That's not what happened here. So it would appear that, like, even his own defense and him agree that is his sheath, right? The problem is how it ended up where it ended up. So that's always been kind of a bother for me, is that they're not necessarily arguing it's not his sheath. And if what the state alleges is true, had this gone to trial and they were able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt it was him who purchased the K-bar knife, sheath, and sharpener, and then cannot produce those things, right? I just feel that's a red flag. Unfortunately, it's a bad fact and a red flag in my opinion. Like, if I knew that I purchased a knife, a sheath, a sharpener, and then I'm accused of a crime like this, and they're saying they found my sheath at the scene, I want to be able to, like, produce that as quickly as possible to my defense team to be like, no, 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 no. They may think it's mine. Yes, I fucking had one. I did buy one, but, like, here's where mine is, right? And my fucking sister has it. My dad has it, whatever, right?
I agree with that. I do. I also agree with the prosecution. If they have that thing, should have brought that to the table as well. If this is your guy and you have him on dead to rights, so show us that. Show us the sheath. Show us anything on it, and they haven't. No, neither side has.
Here's how you know the sheath is a problem. It didn't work out for them,
right?
And I really think this is why, because, like, the more I tried to figure it out, I'm going, well, how are they going to argue the sheath without IgG? How do you argue that sheath without IgG? Because without the IgG, the DNA you retrieve from the sheath that you uploaded to CODIS produce nothing, right? Allegedly. Yep. So you can't say that CODIS, right? The sample from the sheath in CODIS is what led you to him.
Yep. Bingo.
And the other problem with the sheath is that it would have been presented to the jury by the defense. Well, yes, technically. So say they did say. So, like, say that his defense team never argues that it's his sheath. They plan to argue how it arrived at this scene. Okay? Allegedly. Placed there. Right. So if they plan to argue it in the sense that, yes, it's his sheath, and yes, we understand you found his trace DNA on the inside button snap, we would expect that because, yes, it is his object. It's his item. However, in the way in which it arrived at this scene, okay, plus you have another man's DNA mixed with the actual victim DNA on the back of the sheath that was never identified. That would have been presented to the jury. Right. And that would be a problem for the state. But it also is a problem for the defense. Yeah. Because they would have to, do you get where I'm going with this, right?
I do, absolutely.
They would have to argue it in a way that, yes, it's his sheath. It's unclear how it ended up at this scene. However, the person whose DNA was mixed in with the victim DNA on the back of the sheath that they never identified is likely the person. How this sheath arrived at this scene is because of this person that they didn't bother to identify.
Which would be the main character. If there was, say Brian did do this and he was involved in this, he's not the main perpetrator per se. This person that they refuse to identify is, in my opinion, if that's the case. Yes, I agree with that.
You get where I'm going with this, right?
I sure do. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
When you look at their documentation and, like, how they plan to argue it. It would appear that's how they plan to argue it. They weren't going to argue it's not his sheath. It was complete. It's not even his. right? It doesn't
No,
appear
never.
that's how their argument was going to go.
They never said a word. They never denied it. They never contradicted any of that. Never.
Mhm.
And they never brought forth, like Annie's pointing out, you guys, they never produced it. They never attempted to do that or anything. They never, there was a statement, never a statement made saying, no, that's not mine. None of that, which would have been very easy to do. They didn't do it. So that says something else. It's
Like even when you read their motions to suppress, things
right,
like that,
right.
like they were trying to suppress IgG, but they were trying to suppress IgG not because the IgG was wrong, right? They were trying to suppress IgG because of the way in which it was done.
The way it was handled, yeah.
Not that the result is incorrect, not that they got to the wrong result. It's that it was just done in a way that potentially violated Mr. Koberger and, American citizens' rights to privacy, etc.
100%.
So
now, even go ahead.
Isn't that interesting?
It's
Even
beyond
the
interesting.
argument for IgG was not because they arrived at the wrong person.
It's very interesting. Very interesting. I'm just seriously curious now, for sure. I also want to throw in there too. It makes me question even more now why they purchased when they went and purchased everything that Brian supposedly purchased on Amazon, the sheath, the knife, the sharpener, the vitamins, whatever it was. What the deal, how they were going to present this. Okay. Were they going to bring the real sheath into the courtroom and show it during trial? Were they going to bring the one that they purchased to show it in trial? I remember reading the document about having to enclose something in the plastic case or whatever that was going to be, but it makes me question that though, Annie, because you purchased this for a reason. I don't know if did you purchase it to prove how it was purchased?
Well, yeah, isn't it interesting? Right, exactly. So the state goes ahead and admits they copied basically what he did, the exact way that he did it. Right.
Right.
Purchasing the knife and the sheath or whatever. And it was interesting. Hitler said, if you bring any knife or anything, if you plan to bring it to the courtroom, it's going to be in a display box, etc. It's going to have to go through security, right? All of that stuff. And I'm like, interesting.
Right. Thank you. I'm just adding that in there, folks. That's not the main point, but it is something to make you blink at a couple times, is all I'm saying.
I'm super concerned about, because it would appear maybe they never identified the other person. Never mind the person on the back of the sheet that's mixed with victim DNA. You still have male blood B, male blood D, also unidentified. So that would be 3. That would be 3 men's DNA unidentified at this crime scene. 2 of them are blood, actual other men's blood,
and the other was the cigarette butt, right?
No, I'm talking about the DNA on the back of the sheet mixed with allegedly 2 of the victims.
Right.
That's 1 male, and that male is separate and unique from male blood B and male blood D, also not identified. So there are at minimum 3 unidentified males. 2 are known blood in this crime scene, and the other is DNA mixed with victim DNA on the back of the sheet that they literally never bothered to identify.
Yep.
And I don't understand how people are not screaming from the rooftops, especially the families. It's the only question, in my opinion, Olivia, any of these people should be asking. Whose fucking call was it to ignore the other DNA, and why?
Why are they not questioning that, Annie? That's my biggest thing. They've read these documents. They've read
they know.
They've read the reports. They know everything we know, at least everything we know, if not more. You're not saying one word. You're not questioning they haven't questioned anything. They haven't questioned their roommates. They haven't questioned Ellie. They haven't questioned nothing. They're just okay with it, or are they? That's my question. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It is ridiculous. And I just personally, I get it. Families are grieving and they just want to move on. Okay, fine. I get it. But this is not, in my opinion, one of those things that you should just let go. It would be one thing if they strung you along the whole time and led you to believe it's just this dude, But then when you read their documentation, you read the things that are coming unsealed, you look at these photos, it's clear. Something is not adding up.
Yep.
There is minimum 3 other men who were not identified or pursued. And even if your evidence would lead you back to Kohberger, you still did not bother to identify what could be his accomplices.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's just how I look at it.
I agree with you. And it's either one of two things, in my opinion. One, and one of them I don't believe. Okay. One of them is that they absolutely don't care. And like you said, they're just moving on, so on and so forth, which still blows my mind. The other one is that they do know. Okay. They do know possibly who the other person is. And that can't come to the table. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to go down no hole with you guys. I'm just telling you, those are the two, my opinion as to what the two options are with that. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you know, Twiz and I were arguing about it the other day. I did like a 9-hour live, you know, and he made the argument of like, it's all just bullshit and the state is lying and this and that. And I'm like, well, if we go by that logic, that would also mean the defense can just say whatever they want and lie too. Right. So I can't look at it from a biased perspective.
I get it.
I just can't. I'm not going to. I'm fully able to just like look at both sides here, what they plan to present, what they did plan to use at trial, not any of these other outside theories, what they plan to present at trial.
Right.
You look at their trial briefs and you look at the things that, you know, some of the experts they were going to bring up.
Right.
It would appear they weren't even going to argue that it wasn't his sheath.
Right. Which is
so
a big
even
deal.
when people say the sheath was planted, the sheath wasn't Brian's, the sheath belonged to someone else, blah, blah, blah. The sheath belonged to the girls. According to Brian's fucking defense team, that is not what they were saying or arguing.
No. And here's my theory on that. They couldn't, to be honest with you, because it could have been one of those, it doesn't matter situations, what you say. That's why I think they weren't going to argue that, because it very well could have been Brian's. But like I said, you said it before, even we all did. It could have been stolen, sold, traded, whatever it is. But anybody could say that. And that's exactly what the prosecution would say to that. So it was a relentless defense. It's not going to work. It's not going to matter. So I think that's why she just went with it and didn't say a word. And they were going to fight it in the other direction. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. It could have been Brian's.
Yeah, no, Amy, I'm not saying that she has to divulge in her trial brief her entire strategy. That's not what I'm saying. But usually your trial brief, I mean, that's literally like that's the crux of your case.
There's no mention of
what you're presenting. Right? You have to give it to the court. Obviously, you don't have to give up your strategy, but you do have to present your evidence, the experts, what your experts are going to be presenting. It's all part of your trial brief. Right? I'm not saying she had to give up her strategy, but nowhere was she arguing that, nope, this wasn't even Brian's sheath. It belonged to one of the victims and he never bought one. That was never the defense's argument, even in their motions to suppress or their motions in limine. That's all I'm saying. That is not how they argued. That is not how they've argued since the beginning. They have never argued this sheath never belonged to our client.
Right.
Know what I mean? Initially, they were trying to get it tossed based on the IGG because they were trying to claim the IGG was done in a way that violated his rights. Thereby, you can toss the fucking sheath and any work that came from it. It would all be fruit of the poisonous tree, but that even got struck down. Do you get what I'm saying? It wasn't even struck down. They both conceded they're not even going to talk about it.
Right.
No IGG will be mentioned. Right?
Absolutely. That is absolute.
So they weren't trying to get rid of IGG because they believed that the sheath didn't belong to Kohberger and somehow the DNA conclusion was incorrect. That wasn't their argument for IGG and the reason to suppress it.
Bingo.
They wanted IGG out because it did lead them to Brian Kohberger, but they did it in a way that was backdoored and potentially violated his civil rights.
Yeah, it was unconstitutional.
Right. So Even in their argument for IgG, they were never arguing, nope, the sheath wasn't his, the DNA wasn't his, it's an incorrect conclusion, right? From a piece of evidence that was planted at the scene. That's not even how they argued IgG.
Right, right. Absolute. That is true. And that has to be noticed too, guys. You got to see it that way to understand what it was going to be per se. It doesn't mean you
can't have a fucking trial by ambush.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? You can't just come up later like, hey, actually, you know what? We want to, that sheath. No. That's why they were all going through all of this bullshit with the IgG and everything. They all knew from jump that sheath was going to be a huge fucking problem because it doesn't have just Kohberger's DNA on it. It has other people's DNA on it. Some mixed sample and DNA that was never identified. Right. That's why the sheath was a problem, because they presented it as though they found this sheath with no one else's DNA on it except for Brian's.
Except for Brian's. Well, until, you're right.
You understand where I'm going with this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It was always presented that the only DNA found on the sheath was single source male. That is 100% untrue. It was not just single source male found on the sheath. There is another man's DNA on the back of the sheath mixed with the victim's DNA.
That they refused to look for. Yes, absolutely. Right.
So if you're the state and the defense, so the defense knows, hey, fuckers, we know there's somebody else's DNA on it. And you've been saying all along it's single source when you fucking know it's not. And then the state's like, well, fuck, I mean, yeah, we definitely backdoored it. We got to him in a way that we shouldn't. We don't even want to talk about IgG. Everybody seemed to be on board with like, fuck it. Yep. We're just not even going to talk about this.
I think we know why, as far as that's concerned. The state didn't want to talk about it because it was going to reveal the corrupted side to the thing. And the defense, it was going to help them in that sense, as far as their not coming to Brian in that aspect. Sorry for lack of terms today.
I mean, it's super interesting to me.
Yeah.
That they never bothered.
I agree.
So you're sending off the single source sample for IgG. You've got the feds saying, give it to us. We'll take it from here. Even though IgG right now with Othram is incomplete, you're doing all this cloak and dagger bullshit for this single source profile. Meanwhile, you never subject the others to IgG. You never build trees for them. You never do anything with them.
Right. Absolutely. Where is the DNA report linking the victims to one weapon?
Yeah, exactly, Dana Lynn.
That's a good question, Dana. Just very good question. I'd love to see that myself.
Well, as much as I love hanging out with you guys and chit-chatting, I have to go back to work soon. Unfortunately, I worked this morning, took a little break, and now I'm headed back because, unfortunately, YouTube don't pay my bills. Not as much as I would like to. So I have to go back to real work, friends.
Well, don't work too hard, Miss Annie, and be careful out there.
That's all I do, darling. I work very, very hard.
I know you do.
I do. I should be able to take some breaks soon. Once winter hits, I like to work from home more.
There you go.
So, yeah, I might be seeing you guys a little bit more once it starts snowing. But from now till Christmas is busy AF.
Oh, that would be awesome. And just be careful. This was amazing. Again, thank you so much for this. Like I said, I'll be adding this to my discussion today.
Well, thank you.
As always, I know you say you don't know shit, but, we all know the truth there. But anyway.
Well, thanks for coming up and chit-chatting with me. I love hanging out with you. I'm sorry I haven't been to your lives. I'm just super busy.
Okay. Don't ever apologize. Life is life. We get it.
I've been missing all Alana's lives. I've been missing everybody's lives. Kane B goes live at like 2 a.m. I'm definitely asleep. So I've just been missing everybody's everything.
We had a great one Friday. Lana, Kane, nothing half-assed, typically unique. We were all on panel together. We did a generic mock trial. It was kind of fun.
Are you shitting me? When was this?
Oh, Friday. It was great.
Oh, yeah. I worked like crazy on Friday, like a lot. I think I did like 7 hours Friday.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry.
Which I know people are probably like 7 hours, Annie. Like, are you serious? No, with what I do.
Right. No, you're right.
I also have school, and I also have a child that homeschool and stuff. So literally that's like, I have to break up. Thank God that I can make my own hours is all I could say about that, because I
Amen.
have to
Yeah.
break everything up to revolve it around her school, my school, and everything else. So,
And you still have time to do these amazing things that we all appreciate so very much. So thank you.
well,
Um,
thank you.
absolutely, dear.
Hopefully,
Um,
it's informational, and, feel
yeah.
free to share if you decide to. Feel free. You don't have to ask
Oh,
permission.
but thank you very much. That's what was going to be my next question was, do you mind if I use some of this to talk about with what I was
Oh,
going to
you
talk
go
about
for it.
during
I
my
would never like strike you or anything. You can share my
thank you.
stuff whenever you want.
And same goes with me. If you ever need to, I doubt you would, but if you ever want to, it's all yours anyway. So, I appreciate you very much, as I said, as we all do. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you for this once again. And I will see you very soon, dear.
Love you, Dago. Happy Sunday.
You too, hon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. Dago, as always, thank you again for your gifted memberships today. If you got a membership today, it's because of Dago. He gifted 5 memberships. Say thank you to Dago. Make sure you put some hearts in the chat for Dago. Thanks so much, Dago, for popping in. Thanks for talking to me. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out today. Hopefully, we all learned a little bit together. And remember, again, this is just opinions. This is just, looking at things for their educational value. And hopefully we can learn a little. And, don't forget to get your FOIAs in. If you do FOIAs, do a FOIA to Idaho State Police. You're asking for Liz Q 360 photos. There's 7,000 of them. Make sure you get your FOIAs in for that, friends. Mittens for Kittens. Love seeing you here. Thank you, as always. Beach Babe. Love seeing you. Ro. Hello, Ro. Good to see you. Young Black Economist. Always good to see you, darling. Leah Story. Thanks for being here. Amy Conway, as always, thank you so much for being here. You know how much I appreciate you. Virgil Green. Hope you guys have an awesome Sunday. Doc Terry, everybody. If I'm missing anyone, Heather Mosher. Damn it, you were here, honey, and I missed you. I just saw you now. Where did it go? Heather Mosher. I just saw Heather Mosher in here somewhere. Well, wherever you are, darling, thanks for being here. AT said in court to Hippler, the trial for the defense was butt out of the sheath, got to the crime scene when BK was never there. That seems like what they were planning to argue at trial. She said in court to Hippler that trial for the defense was about how the sheath got to the crime scene when BK was never there. She said that in court, he was never there to Hippler. I got to find that clip. Shit. Thanks, Heather Mosher. I'll see if I can go find that, darling. I don't remember that. But then again, when I cover the hearings too, if we cover them live, sometimes it's going, but I'm, trying to watch chat and shit. Sometimes this is why I have to go watch on my own with nothing else going on, like with my earbuds in, so I can hear everything. Never mind fucking Hippler who covers his mouth and you can barely fucking hear him when he speaks. But I'll go find that, darling. Thanks, Miss Mosher. Good looking out. All right, well, you guys go have an awesome Sunday. Too fast, as always. No, thank you, darling. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. You doing yard work? Is that what you're doing today? I know it's a little chilly out here in the Northeast, but if it's nice out where you are, go get some fresh air and enjoy your Sunday and stay safe. Everybody keep your head on a swivel. The world is insane, okay? But still, just because the world is insane doesn't mean you can't go do things and have fun and be safe. So take care of each other. See you soon. Oh, yeah, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you put all your notifications to all, because very, very soon we're going to be doing Mondays. I'm sorry. We're going to be doing mornings with Miss Potts. I'm probably going to change it, but that's what it is tentatively for now. You get up, you have your coffee, and we're going to snark the fuck out of all of the breaking news across the country, in the mornings together. So make sure you turn on your notifications for that. Yeah, see? Too fast. I knew it. Yard work and waterproofing. Well, enjoy your Sunday, dear. Hopefully the weather stays nice for you. Thanks, Witchy. Yeah, we'll see. Work is work, It pays the bills well, so that's why I do it. Hopefully one day I'll be able to do YouTube full time, and I won't have to go work another job, but we'll see. I like working. I'm a worker bee. I'm a workaholic. I always have been. I can't help myself. So hopefully you guys have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye. Mods, by the way, thank you. Appreciate you. Fitzy, Meg P, Kane B. Who else? Too Fast. Who else was I missing? All my mods. By the way, Swamp Rose, Kiki Darling, where have you been? Fitzy, Meg P. There you are. Love you. You guys have an awesome day. Bye.